The sound of metal scraping against concrete still gives me chills if I let myself think about it too long. I'll never forget that afternoon, how fast everything spun out of control, how three guys in cop uniforms kicked my 6-year-old daughter's wheelchair so hard she hit the asphalt screaming, and for a few seconds the whole world just stopped. The part they didn't know what makes this story almost poetic is that in less than an hour, I'd be the one knocking on their door and they'd have no idea who I really was. But before I get to that, you gotta understand, this isn't some random viral horror story. This stuff happens to families like mine every day in neighborhoods that are supposed to feel safe. If you're a parent or if you care about anybody at all, listen up, because my little girl's story needs to be heard. My name's Dominic Reeves. Yeah, on paper, I'm just another dad working from home, supposed to be one of those background guys on a quiet block trying to give my daughter the best life she can get. Most folks think I run a boring consulting business, but what they don't know, what these bullies had no clue about, is that my day job is just the part I let people see. My real work, I've got the authority to turn a nightmare around with a single phone call. But that morning, I wasn't anything but a dad standing in the kitchen watching my little girl Celeste outside with her paint set, thinking maybe this was finally going to be a peaceful day. Celeste is a 6-year-old who rolls through life with more style and courage than anybody I know. She was born with cerebral palsy, so her legs don't always do what she wants. But she navigates the world in this bright purple wheelchair covered in rainbow stickers, butterflies, tiny painted landscapes, the whole thing like a rolling scrapbook of her dreams. You ever meet a kid who just makes everybody around her better? That's Celeste. She teaches the neighborhood kids how to paint hands out, homemade cookies from Mrs. Yamamoto down the block, waves to grumpy Mr. Kowalski, until even he cracks a smile. She never let her wheelchair be anything but a badge of honor. We even painted her ramp to look like a rainbow bridge. Kids beg their parents to drive by our house just to see the rainbow girl at her easel. But the thing is, not everybody likes bright colors and loud laughter and kids making sidewalk art on community property. About 3 months back, our HOA Homeowners Association, for the lucky few who've never dealt with one, went from a bunch of retired gardeners arguing about grass height to this professional management setup with new rules, stricter standards, all led by a woman named Cordelia Blackthorne. If you're picturing a villain in a pantsuit with a clipboard, you're not far off. Cordelia rolled in with her black Range Rover and a head full of community values, hired 3 wannabe cops in matching uniforms, stuck magnetic badges on their SUVs, and called it the Community Safety Division. Suddenly, we're not a friendly neighborhood, we're a movie set for some third-rate crime drama. The ringleader was a guy named Garrett Hutchkins, flanked by his 2 sidekicks, twin brothers Wade and Blake Nichols. All 3 loved sunglasses, radios, and the kind of authority that only means something if you're afraid to question it. They rolled around the block handing out warnings for things like improper mailbox placement or unlicensed lemonade stands. Most people went along just to keep the peace. But these guys, they started taking a weird interest in Celeste's morning art routine, slowing down to watch her paint, snapping photos on their phones, always claiming they were documenting traffic flow. I tried not to jump to conclusions, but when grown men in uniforms start photographing your disabled kid, you notice. It all came to a head on a Friday afternoon, sun shining, kids drawing with chalk on the sidewalk, pure old-school happiness. Celeste had painted a hopscotch course with flowers and butterflies, teaching a little group of kids about shadows and color mixing. That's when Garrett and his crew screeched up in their SUV lights, flashing like they were about to bust up a riot. I was on the porch watering plants, but when I saw the way those guys moved, the way the twins flanked Garrett like he was some big shot, I put the watering can down. Something about it just felt wrong. Garrett's shadow fell over Celeste like a thundercloud. "Young lady, you're in violation of community property regulations," he announced, sounding like a cartoon cop. "This sidewalk chalk constitutes defacement of public walkways." Celeste looked confused. I mean, she's 6, right? She tried to explain so sweetly that the chalk washes off, even offered to show them with the garden hose. But Wade cut her off with, "That's not your decision to make," and Blake jumped in. "Your wheelchair is leaving tire marks on the sidewalk that's damage to community infrastructure." I could feel my blood pressure spike. These grown men were picking on a child in a wheelchair over chalk and imaginary tire marks. I came down the steps, keeping my voice calm. Gentlemen, I'm Celeste's father. Is there a problem here? Garrett gave me that look, the one you get from guys who think the badge is real power. Sir, your daughter is violating multiple community standards, unauthorized art, wheelchair damage, noise disturbances. It would have been laughable if it wasn't so cruel. Neighbors started to come out confused, drawn by the flashing lights and the raised voices. Most were just standing around, unsure what to do. I tried to reason with Garrett. Look, I don't see any real violations here. The chalk is temporary, the wheelchair doesn't hurt anything, and it's not even quiet hours. Maybe I should have been softer, maybe I should have known better, but I'd spent too many years in real city meetings with real power to let these clowns run roughshod over my kid. The twins puffed up like they were about to throw me in jail. Are you questioning our judgment, sir? We have full authority from the Homeowners Association. Failure to comply can result in significant fines and legal action. The whole time Celeste just sat there, hands in her lap, watching the grown-ups get loud above her head. Other kids started slipping away, parents hustling them inside. I saw the light in my daughter's eyes start to dim. That's when Garrett leaned down, whispered something ugly in Celeste's ear. I caught problem child, special needs burden, and doesn't belong in this neighborhood. She flinched like she'd been slapped. I've never wanted to break down and cry and explode with rage at the same time until that moment. Right then, my phone buzzed. Emergency City Council session, 3:00 p.m. Major accessibility legislation, my presence required. The irony nearly knocked me flat. Here I was crafting laws to protect people like Celeste, while 3 frauds in uniforms were treating her like a community disease. Mrs. Yamamoto, bless her heart, came out with her usual plate of cookies, but when she saw what was happening, she stopped dead. Officers, she said, voice shaking, this little girl brings joy to our neighborhood. Surely there's no harm in children playing. Garrett turned on her with ice-cold professionalism. Ma'am, I suggest you return to your property to avoid complications. I finally did what I should have done from the start, took out my phone and started recording. Wade tried to scare me off with recording law enforcement activities without permission is illegal. And Blake added, you're interfering with an official investigation. The only real investigation was in Celeste's eyes. Daddy, did I do something wrong? It broke me. I knelt by her wheelchair, spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. You did nothing wrong, sweetheart. You're perfect and you have every right to be here. And then I saw it. Garrett was taking pictures of Celeste, not just her art, her face, her wheelchair, her medical alert bracelet. What exactly are you planning to do with those photos? I asked. His answer was colder than ice, building a case file for presentation to the HOA board. Residents need to understand what allowing this kind of situation is costing our community. It wasn't about chalk, it was about seeing my daughter as a problem to solve. That's when Mrs. Yamamoto, trembling with righteous anger, stepped forward. Shame on you. Shame on all 3 of you for treating a child this way. Garrett snapped, ma'am, you're now part of this incident. We'll note your interference in our report. It was pure intimidation. Punish anyone who stands with the vulnerable. But Mrs. Yamamoto stood her ground. Then put me in your report. I think you're wrong. Suddenly, neighbors started gathering, the Henderson twins and their mom, Mr. Kowalski, even the young couple from the corner. The air shifted. Garrett tried to reassert control. This constitutes an unlawful assembly. Disperse or face citations. That's when Mr. Kowalski cut in. What police department are you guys from anyway? Silence. The 3 uniforms froze. Wade stammered, we're Community Safety Division officers authorized by the Homeowners Association. Mr. Kowalski just stared. That's not a police department. Show me your real badges. You could feel their power shrivel as the crowd murmured. And that's when Garrett lost it. Everyone back. This wheelchair constitutes a public safety hazard and we're confiscating it pending investigation. The crowd gasped. Even the fake cops looked shocked at what they just said. Celeste's eyes got huge. Daddy, they can't take my wheelchair, can they? I rushed forward, but before I could stop him, Garrett kicked her wheelchair hard. The metal screamed against the concrete. Celeste hit the ground, her paints and brushes scattering, her little body crumpling as she sobbed on the pavement. That was it. My phone rang, City Hall emergency line. I scooped Celeste up, checked for broken bones, and answered, my voice barely under control. Mr. Mayor, we need you at City Hall. But before I left, I called Chief Sullivan, my voice echoing down the block. Chief, this is Mayor Reeves. I need immediate response to 17 Maple Grove. 3 individuals impersonating officers just assaulted my 6-year-old daughter. You could see Garrett and the twins blanch as the words mayor and chief sunk in. Police sirens wailed closer. Detective Rodriguez, a friend from city safety work, pulled up, took one look, and got right to business. Garrett tried one last desperate move, Detective. We were responding to violations. Rodriguez just said, there is no community safety division in this city. Impersonating police is a felony and assaulting a child. That's prison. The twins tried to run, but the cops boxed them in, snapped cuffs on all 3, while the neighbors clapped and cheered, tears streaming down faces. Mrs. Yamamoto filmed everything. I got it all. The threats, the hate, everything. The Hendersons patched up Celeste's arm. I looked at my girl's mangled wheelchair, her rainbow stickers scratched, and realized they hadn't just hurt her body, they tried to kill her joy. Then Cordelia Blackthorne herself showed up in her luxury SUV, striding up like she owned the world. What is the meaning of this release? These men, they were acting under HOA guidelines. Rodriguez just said, ma'am, they're under arrest. The HOA has no police powers. But Cordelia doubled down, staring at me with this cold smile. Mr. Reeves, maybe now you'll understand. Your daughter's disruptive behavior has been documented extensively. She's a blight on this community. The crowd gasped. Even her own thugs looked disgusted. Rodriguez raised her phone. Are you stating your organization targeted this child because of her disability? Cordelia, too far gone to stop, snapped. If the father can't control her and remove these eyesores, stronger measures are necessary. You could hear the neighborhood's heart break. Mr. Kowalski wiped his eyes. Lady, you're talking about a child. Rodriguez put Cordelia in cuffs too, called the FBI for hate crime charges, and within an hour the HOA board resigned in disgrace. That night our city council passed the Celeste Protection Act, the strictest anti-discrimination law in the state. Neighbors organized a community art day painting new rainbows for Celeste's wheelchair. Mr. Kowalski built her an accessible easel. 3 months later, Celeste's art show raised $50,000 for disabled kids. Our property values. Turns out they soared. Kindness is good business. You'd think that's where the story ends, right? Bullies get what's coming. Community rallies. Justice wins. But if you ask around, not everyone agrees. Some still say Cordelia was right, that rules are rules, that aesthetics matter more than inclusion. So tell me, did justice get served or did things go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I guarantee this fight isn't over. Not in my town, not while I'm still here, and not while kids like Celeste are out there painting rainbows in a world that sometimes forgets how to see them.